Proven testing, be a blessing. Earn blessing, always learn a lesson. Got a pet, better keep the pet. And the skies.
Alright, YouTube, what's going on? So I'm just going to jump straight into the video and then I'll debrief you in a second. So you already know, if you can see, I'm removing two 13mm bolts. And that is for the bracket for the shifter cable. And that lies on top of the transmission. So I'll take the screws off and, I'll screw them back onto the transmission so I know where they go afterwards. But the reason why I started at this point, you'll notice, I feel like if you can't take out the battery and take out the battery tray, then how are you going to do a job like this? And me editing out that part helps me, with the job. The whole process of just speeds everything up for me. So like I said, I'm screwing those bolts back on to the transmission. And like I said, for those purposes, when I remove a bolt, I put it back where it was. And that just gives me, speeds up from when I'm trying to, put everything back together. So I'm taking the two transmission lines that go back to the cooler, to the transmission, 13mm nuts. So you can take those off. And, once you take the nut off, all I got to do is pull straight up on it. And it'll come off. And there is one more. Another cooler line in the back of the trans, more so in the back of the trans mount bracket. And excuse my lighting, it might be too bright in certain areas, but for me it was just perfect, so it could just be the camera. But you got my voice, so I can guide you through it. So I'm removing that rear transmission line, the cooler line. Like I said, that one is a 13mm bolt. Actually, not bolt, it's a nut. And pull straight up on it, and you don't have to worry about moving it completely out of the way. Just lift up on it and leave it where it is, because when you remove the transmission, it won't be in your way, and going in, it won't be in your way either, because it's supposed to sit a certain way. So just take them off. Next, I look like I got a pick, but I don't see. Oh, there is a clip that keeps the harness in place. You can separate that, and once you separate that, just move it out of the way, and that gives you more clearance. I guess the goal, what I'm doing right now, is making more room for myself, because this is tight area. In the last generation, they made them tight too, but it is what it is. You can finesse it. And you see I got the PCM moved over to the side, so you see my setup. Like I said, once you get the battery tray out, once you get the battery tray out, you Gucci. So now I'm taking this little plastic bracket that goes onto, that snaps onto the side of the transmission, the valve body cover, basically, that holds the two cooler lines together. So you can go ahead. I just pushed it off with a prop bar. Didn't hit it hard, just literally pushed it off. And then next at the bottom, I guess I'm about to messing with the connector that goes into the transmission. It's the only connector that goes into the transmission. I'm messing with that, and it has a red safety tab on it. Pull that tab out, and once you pull that tab out, all you got to do is push your finger up on it, and you will be able to unlatch the TCM connector. So pretty much that's what I'm doing, unlatching the TCM connector. So you won't be able to see it, and most of these angles I'm recording in, it's going to be hard for you to see. Just because of just kind of the point of view, and it ain't you're not there. It's the head mount is on my head, so it makes it a little bit different. But hopefully the quality of the video, you'll be able to blow it up in the big picture, and you'll be able to see a whole lot better. So I guess let me see, what am I doing? I gotta, sometimes I gotta question myself when I'm doing things or whatever. But I got the light pointing at something. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how to get to the three. So it's a bell housing bolt all the way down at the bottom in the back. And for the high pressure fuel pump, they like to put a little foam cover over it just to quiet the noise, the ticking sound, so it won't be loud mechanically. And I'm moving a little, not a clip, but I forget what it is. So it's not plastic rivet, but a pushing thing type, whatever. I'm gonna get the proper term for those. So just separate those. And like I said, you gotta remove that that foam cover because you won't be able to get to your 15 millimeter bolt. You got 3 15 millimeter bolts on top of the transmission that you need to remove, and there's one starter bolt that comes off, but just worry about the 3 for now. And I took a long 15 millimeter ratchet wrench. Go ahead and just, you could destroy it off, it won't come off properly, so just F it up to get it out. I'm just the best way I could tell you. They made it where it won't come straight out. The last generation, it was held in with just a 10 millimeter bolt and I could pull it out. This one, they stuffed it down there on some retarded shit. So now I'm taking my 15 millimeter long ratchet wrench and that bolt, that hard to get bolt, all the way down at the bottom and the back. You know, with my setup, my ratchet wrench with the flex head on it, I was able to get in there swiftly and you know, get it out with no problem. Once I was able to back it off some, it spun out easily by hand, so you don't have to worry about constantly keep on ratcheting in for a long time. A lot of these boats, especially on newer cars, just, you know, once you just back them off, you can undo it by hand unless it got like Loctite on it or something like that. So I guess I'm still fiddling with the one in the back. It's just that there was a wire harness, and is it a wire harness? It's like 2 coolant lines or a wire harness or something like that, but you got some hoses and stuff and lines in the way. That's going to make it hard for you to sneak in there, so you just kind of like maneuver your way in there and maneuver out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just take your time. You're going to be Gucci. I don't even know why I recorded this part this long. I should have just, you know, a couple unratcheted and then just go on to the next boat. But you can see me, I'm holding my with my flex hand. I'm using one hand, my right hand, to hold on the flex head while I'm ratcheting that way. And look like I'm fishing out the boat. So I got the one rear transmission boat out, bell housing boat. Next, I'm working on to the next one. You see, I just got a regular 3-inch extension with a look like a 15 millimeter. It's a 15 millimeter bolt. Most of the boats around, all of the boats around the bell housing is 15 millimeter. Actually, it is. So got my electric ratchet, sneaking that out, and that one is fished under like a coolant line for like, look like the heater hoses or something. Don't remove that heater hose, because the heater hose look like it's held in by like 2 10 millimeter bolts. You losing coolant is for what? Why would you want to lose coolant when you don't have to? So just leave that coolant line on there. You're gonna have to sneak in there. Like I somehow snuck in there with a swivel or something like that, and I was able to get it out. It's not a problem. Be honest with you, I guess this is the hardest part of the job, just undoing everything from the top. And then, you know, when we go up underneath and do everything, it's really not that bad at all. Let me turn this volume down too, because I don't know why I got the, you know, volume playing. How can y'all hear me? Y'all probably hear me good anyway, but it is what it is. I guess I'm still working on getting that out. Look like this one, when I was backing it out by hand, and it seized up a little bit, not because it's like rusted or nothing like that, or corrosion, whatever. I think they might have put a Loctite, or I don't know. They made it where it ain't come out easily, and I had to finesse it out now. So just take your time. I wish I had some smokes. I mean, I'm at work, but normally, you know, when I do my voiceover, it's just easy for me to walk you through this because I'm smoking. I got my 3/8 impact gun, and I guess I'm still sneaking that boat out. And I think that's still the second boat, because it's, like I said, there's 3 boats around the bell housing on the top that I, you know, got to get out. And we'll see after I take this boat where it be at. And I guess you see me with the light pointing down. There's that one more I was telling you about. Just look all the way around the bell housing, and you'll be able to locate, you know, your boats and see what's got to come out. It's normally what I do. And this is my first time doing it on this like body style, like in particular like the 2017, like the newest body style. This is like my first time doing it on this one. So I mean, I didn't look through the repair manual on steps, what's got to come out or whatever. I didn't do it that way. I just did it off of prior knowledge of like the other models that I did. So I guess let me move this PCM out of the way. The PCM really not going to be in way like that. You just got to flip it over just so you know you can get to certain spots. But I'm still working that third bell housing bolt. I'm going to get that off. While you there too, you should be able to, you could reach one of those 2 starter boats. You could reach one of those boats from the starter. And actually, no, it's still, I think there's still one more down there. But you can reach, it's 4 bolts on the top. But you can reach actually 3 on the top and 1 on the side, like in the very front of the engine. You can reach that from the bottom or top, however you want to do it. But when I'm doing these jobs, and if you notice, I work my way from top to bottom. I don't just start from the bottom first, or I don't go back and forth in between the two. I work on one section and then I go to the next section. It's always been my routine when I'm doing transmissions. It just makes the process a whole lot faster. Gives me that whole 1, 2, 3 situation. You feel me? So I guess I'm still looking down, and I don't know if I'm looking for more transmission bolts. Make sure you take a good look too, because when you're pulling out the transmission, you're like, yo, why my transmission not coming off? It's because you still got a bell housing bolt on. Sometimes it get like that. So just take your time, navigate throughout the transmission, and know where you at. So next, since I'm done from the top, I don't have to do any more from the top. I do got to remove the catalytic converter from the front, but we're gonna come back to that. I guess I'll just wait till I get the subframe out. This is part 1. Next, I'm taking off the low control arm. I'm separating it off of the frame side, not on the knuckle side. And the reason I do this is because I don't want to disturb the ball joint, and then too, I don't want to destroy the boot. I got some, normally I'll whack at around the knuckle where the ball joint at, and it'll fall out with a hammer. I'm not doing none of that. It's just easier for me just to back out the bolts on the frame side for the low control arm. So it's a nut and a bolt setup, and then on the side of it is the 18 millimeters. Of course, there's two more long 18 millimeter bolts, and they come off. And you can see I got my swivel on my 18 set up. You don't necessarily need a swivel, but with the swivel I was able to get like a different angle. Your swivel is going to be your best friend. 1/2-inch swivel on top of that. Really don't care too much for 3/8 swivels. I mean, I got 3/8 sockets, but I won't use no swivel itself. So back that off. Now I'm showing you one side. You should be able to do the right side is identical. And 2, you can unbolt the sway bar link from the top of the strut if you want. But my advice is you should leave that on for now, because you're gonna move the whole subframe bar. You don't have to take it out, but you got to move it out the way to get to the top bolt for the rack. I'm taking off the axle nut. That is a 36 millimeter. If you want to know what it is, and you notice I try to push it in the hub, it didn't work. So you'll notice that's it looked like it's pitted deep onto the axle, whereas you can drive something like not pointy, but like a chisel tip in it, a pointy chisel tip, and use it with a gun, and you should be able to push it out. So now I'm using my prop bar and I'm prying it off of the frame, the subframe, and just a few pries, you should be able to get it separated. So once you get that separated, you can go ahead and take out the just push out the axle shaft pretty much out of the hub, and I guess I'm hooking it up. Is what we doing? Yep, that's what we doing. So I don't have to go all ham on hitting the gun, because just push it out. Don't go crazy. You don't need to go crazy. And just pull the hub away, and then your axle should just fall out right at the hub. And I'm going to leave the axle just like that. I'm not even removing the axle from the transmission. That I'm going to leave in there. I don't have no reason to pull it out, because on this job, I'm showing you how to remove the transmission, but I'm doing a torque converter, so I have no reason to pull out the axle on that side. And then for the right side, I'm going to pull it out, because the right side has an intermediate shaft. Next, there is a 7 millimeter bolt, little screw at the bottom, and you're going to remove this shield right here. Is because the crank, you need to get to the crank bolt when you're rotating it to get the torque converter bolts off. The crank bolt, I believe it's a 21 millimeter. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but if I could remember, I remember using the 21 millimeter on that, and I was Gucci. Now these star bit screws, I used a T15 driver to get it out. I got a set of drivers for torque bits and stuff like that, or I could have just used just a regular 1/4 inch and put it on my ratchet, but this was just simple, and plus it's plastic. I don't need to go on ham on plastic. Should have came off easily, so not a problem. So there was a total of 4. There's one on the other side of the strut. Once we get that off, I'll be able to, like just flap it away. I'm gonna move it back, some, and I can sneak in the 20, to get to the crank bolt pretty much. So go ahead and back that off. So like we 14 minutes, actually almost 15 minutes. I got gas too, y'all. I don't know, I had coffee or something like that. Good thing y'all can't smell it. So I guess I'm gonna. What am I doing? I'm losing track of what I'm doing. Taking off the exhaust, the downpipe. You don't have to worry about the whole exhaust. Don't take the whole entire exhaust off. Just take off what I'm showing you at this section. These nuts that I'm backing off are 13 millimeter, and I assume that yours don't have a lot of rust. Like mine didn't have really barely any rust like that, just minimum surface rust. And just I need to heat it up, no nothing. The car is fairly new, only a few years old, and it backed off without a problem. So there's 2 on each flange, each pipe, and once you've done that, you're gonna have to worry about the downpipe flange coming off of the catalytic converter itself. Now those are 15 millimeter nuts, and use your gun with an extension. You want to be that dude using hand tools to back off exhaust bolts. Cool. Just sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not, because them bolts they gonna break clean off, and you're gonna be hot about that. But sometimes I like to use air gun because it's just faster. At the same time, you can chase the threads off at the same time in a way. So I'm using my 3/8 gun with, I don't know what setup am I using. I probably got like a deep 15, a 3/8 deep 15 I use. I borrowed your 15 and your 13. He had some. It was mid shallow, and it was like perfect size to me. I got shallow, but I don't have mid shallow. They're like in between the shallow and deep. You get what I'm saying? So backing off those bolts. Now there is a O2 sensor coming off of the pipe, both of them for the downstream. For bank 1 and 2, sensor 2. So disconnect the connector. The connector got like a white locking tab on it. You can pull the connector, that locking tab, back with your fingernail. You can't probably see it good, but you should have an idea what I'm talking about if you worked on General Motors cars that got like safety locking tabs on the connector. So just finesse it off. It'll come off. I really shouldn't be talking to you that much on how to remove a connector. You can't remove the connector without effing it up. How the hell you gonna do a job like that? I'm just saying. So just be careful. You could sneak in there with a pick just to lift up on the locking tab part itself, but for me, I guess I didn't have to do that. And you can see that separated. Now in the back, there's 2 more 15 millimeter nuts that I need to get off of the rear cat, and then once I get that off, I gotta separate that O2 sensor, that downstream sensor 2 sensor off, and then once I do that, then it's like there are flex pipes on the downpipe, so just kind of like push it back, and you should be able to get it off of the pipe, and then pause on that part. Ain't sound right, and then the whole thing will come out, and it's not heavy and nothing like that, but you get what I'm saying. So what am I doing? I'm taking my 3/8 with gun, I guess. I don't know. Normally I have a shitload of tools on the floor, but I'm trying to stay clean for y'all, because they took that one person in the video to bother me. Oh, you're dirty, you got stuff everywhere. Plus I'm showing y'all how to job like this. I don't want to show y'all bad practices and stuff too. So organization is key. You'll see how I got certain stuff on the ground and certain bolts next to certain components, and how I lay everything out. I lay everything out in my format the best way I know. I got photographic memory, so my organization might look a hot mess to you, but I know exactly where they go, because that's just how I am. So I'm separating the O2 sensor. It's actually like a clip or something that go onto the mount itself. You just use a pair of needle nose pliers and it'll come off, because you're gonna have to remove that plastic, the rear torque mount. That's gonna come off, and see how that pipe come off just like that, because it's flexed. And be careful with your gaskets that they don't come apart or whatever. If they bend a little bit, it's not a problem. They're gonna straighten back out again once you tighten everything back up. So just be careful, don't toss it on the ground, because you got your 2 O2 sensors on there and you can damage everything. So now I'm gonna taking them off. Bam, 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 bam. That one is a 15 millimeter bolt. That's a long bolt, and it's not the same size as the one in the front mount. So just don't mix them up or nothing like that. Or I don't think you can, because 115 is 118, so you'll know once you start putting everything back together. And those bolts I'm backing off, there are 3 18mm bolts, and once you take that off, you don't have to take off the bracket itself, but you can take off the actual, no, that's the bracket, but the mount itself, I'm sorry. There's 2 bolts in the back of the subframe. You can leave that mount on and just worry about removing the bracket only. And then once you get that bracket off, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm probably going to remove the whole axle, the intermediate shaft out. I took the whole thing out. And I'm using needle nose pliers to pull out the, separate the wire, because it's got like a little clip bracketed thingy, whatever you call it. I won't get the proper term for those. I'll just be calling them like locking clips or whatever. And I guess I'm still backing out a bolt. Maybe one still threaded, but let me pull all of them out. Once you pull everything, all of them out, now this bracket, plastic bracket, might give you a little pain coming out, but take your time, finesse it out, and it'll fall out. Well, not fall out, but almost fall out if you don't catch it, but it'll come out. You just maybe rock the engine forward and it might come out. So next, what am I doing? I don't know. I can't believe I sat here this whole 20-something minutes talking to you like this, especially on my lunch break. Y'all should be lucky. You know, I F's with y'all heavy, you feel me? Next one, I guess, taking off the 2 18mm bolts that hold in the whole steering rack. It's 3. So it's 2 on the side and 1 on the top. Now I'm just breaking it free so that way I can get in there with a gun and I can just zip them off without a problem, with ease. And then after you do that, I guess, if I can remember, you won't be able to get to the top bolt because there is this whole sway bar is in the way. So once you, it's 4 13, 2 on each side. See how I can't get the bolt out all the way? I guess I can, but it might be crooked. So you can drop down the subframe. The subframe doesn't hold the engine in. So you can go ahead and just take those rear bolts out. Once you take those rear bolts out, it'll drop the whole rear subframe and drop down a few inches, whereas you can sneak in there and you can get to the bolts for the sway bars. 2 on each side, 13mm bolts, no nut, just a long bolt. And then once you get that out, and then we'll be able to, it drops down. You got access to get to you got to flip up the sway bar, rotate it up, and then you can sneak in there and get to the 18mm bolt for the steering rack, and then you'll be Gucci. Now keep in mind, this is part 1. Part 2 will probably be shown more, but this is a whole lot of stuff I'm removing. You see I'm removing those 2 15mm bolts that go on for the bracket for the rear, for the subframe bolt, basically. Back those off, and it'll drop down a few inches, and it might thud on you, drop down from the weight. But that subframe itself is not even that heavy. I had picked it up on my own without getting any help. And then yeah, so I guess hopefully if I got enough time to show y'all, it look like the video is getting ready to cut off. So I'm Leekautorepair. This is part 1. Look out for part 2. In part 2, we want to be showing y'all you know, how to just drop the subframe. We're gonna take out the rear cat, the front cat, and then torque converter bolts and the rest of the video. So I'm Leekautorepair. This is part 1, and I'm getting out of here, and